To me, this movie is a Better Call Saul level prequel. Let's talk about Furiosa. Furiosa is a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road. It follows Furiosa, one of the main characters in Mad Max Fury Road. Mad Max Fury Road, one of the special things about that masterpiece, which I highly recommend to anyone who hasn't watched that movie, it's excellent. One of the great things about that movie that always stood out to me is that even though it's a movie called Mad Max, the main character really isn't Max. It's Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron. Her character is one of the most memorable characters in that whole movie, despite the fact that Tom Hardy does an incredible job as Mad Max. And to me, that movie was more of a Furiosa movie. Yet, we didn't really know that much about Furiosa except her goals and objectives throughout the film. So I'm so glad that we finally got a film to explore who Furiosa was, her past, and her upbringing, and her origin to the character that we all know by the time we get to Fury Road. And I gotta say, Anya Taylor-Joy and the little girl who played Furiosa, because this movie does an incredible thing where we spend a good portion of the movie with a younger Furiosa. The little girl who played younger Furiosa did an outstanding job. An outstanding job. I've never seen her before in another movie, and I gotta say, she's got next, guys. She's got next. That little girl did an incredible job. That beginning part of the movie features Furiosa's mom, another actress that in her very small participation of the movie stood out to me. Those two actresses that play the younger Furiosa and Furiosa's mom, those two actresses hook you in. The way the movie starts is exhilarating. The movie is like divided in 5 parts, and those parts with younger Furiosa could have honestly been its own movie. Or like even a short film worthy of many awards. And it's just the quality of each portion of the movie is so well crafted, so well thought out, and the acting, the sequences, action. One thing that Furiosa has that Fury Road didn't as much was that this is a much more narrative-driven story compared to Fury Road. Fury Road is really a chase sequence throughout the whole movie. It's just a persecution scene, and it sounds simple, but it works. It's a masterpiece. And here, there's much more narrative. It's more character-driven, and I think that kind of gave it a distinct look than Fury Road, which I appreciated. A lot of prequels feel like cash grabs, but it never felt that way here. There were a lot of questions I had when I first watched Fury Road. For example, they mentioned places like the Bullet Farm, Gasoline Town. These, first of all, really cool named fortresses that I was very curious about, but we never really got to see in Fury Road. So I was very glad that we finally were able to see these locations, and they don't disappoint. One of the best sequences happens in the Bullet Farm, and it's just cinema, guys. Like, this is why you watch a movie like this in theaters, because you don't really get the same experience somewhere else. This movie so far this year has the best action sequences of 2024. It's gonna be hard to top. I really think that this movie has the best action sequences, like the choreography, the stunts. There is this 15-minute long action sequence. It's a car chase scene, and it's done in such a cool way. It's such an expertly crafted way. I mean, this 15-minute long sequence took like almost 3 months to make. That's how complicated the sequence is, and it works. And it works so well. You can tell how much work went into it. I think 200 people worked on that sequence. Like, that whole sequence is 15 minutes of gold cinema. Ultimately, this movie is a revenge story. And revenge stories need a very strong protagonist and a very strong antagonist. And I gotta say, this movie has both. Anya Taylor-Joy, who plays Furiosa, had big shoes to fill. Charlize Theron did an incredible job as Furiosa. When I think of Furiosa, I see Charlize Theron. But now after seeing Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, this new movie, I can say that Anya Taylor-Joy stands next to Charlize Theron. They stand next to each other as they both delivered incredible performances. One is not better than the other. They're just equally as amazing. They are both incredible actresses that honestly elevate Furiosa to stand next to incredible action stars like Ripley from Aliens or even Sarah Connor from Terminator. And like I said, this is a revenge story, and a revenge story needs a strong antagonist, and Chris Hemsworth brings his A++ game. This is one of Chris Hemsworth's best performances, if not his best since Infinity War Thor. His villain is brutal. From the beginning of the movie, he sets the tone. This is a horrible person. Brutal. And it just keeps getting worse. It's the middle part of the movie. In the middle of the movie, he doubles down on the brutalness. Yeah. It's just, you're just like, he's gotta go. He's gotta go. And one thing that Furiosa does is to elevate Dementis, Chris Hemsworth's character, is that they bring back a lot of the villains from Fury Road. These villains were already established so well in Fury Road. You know they're ruthless. You know they're awful. You know they're just great villains. They really are great villains. And then you see Chris Hemsworth's character stand next to them and almost instill a little fear in some of those villains. This movie has beautiful cinematography, an incredible soundtrack. I don't think this movie is better than Fury Road, but that is not a knock on the movie, because Fury Road is a perfect film, and this movie is just pretty much almost perfect. There's just a little nitpick on the movie where I wish there was this sequence they mentioned. They show it through a montage, but there's this, I wish we could have seen a little bit more of that, but that's just nitpicky. That's just me wanting more action. That's just me wanting George Miller to add more action sequences, and maybe this movie really didn't need that, to be honest. This movie was, again, more character driven, so I understand why it was cut. That's just a nitpicky part of me, because other than that, this movie's perfect. This movie is absolutely perfect. It's just incredible. So I highly recommend this movie to anyone who loves great movies. The way it hooks you into your seat and you're just transported into the post-apocalyptic world in Australia, where madness and cars and bullets are all that matters for survival. It just hooks you in. It immerses you in so well. It's just a masterpiece. It's right now, as of right now, it's my second favorite film of the year, right behind Dune 2. I mean, Dune Part 2, one of a kind movie, and Furiosa, one of a kind type of prequel. Just honestly, absolutely phenomenal.